good morning. Welcome to our second webinar conversation. Me, Victor the Lifestyle Chef, and the DeQueen program. If you've not had time to go and have a look at the DeQueen website, please do so. There is so much great information put together for you, a parent or a childminder, just to help navigate through the basic bumps we all have to face and go through during raising your little person, and also trying to instill some of the great values that is in line not only with you and also elements of society. And I think there is so much great information to share and for you to take on board. There's anything from cooking programs to nutritional plans. So please take some time, go through the website, go and see what this great group of people has put together for you, the childminder or the parent. Now, today is our second webinar, and we are talking about fathers and children in the kitchen. Now, I'm a chef, and obviously this comes quite second nature to me, but I do have a lot of friends and people close to me that often ask me, how do I bridge this process of trying to get my children involved in the kitchen, or just how do I improve my child's nutrition at home? Because we often find they are quite picky eaters, or they're not, or whatever your home dynamics are with your children. Often find that people, it's not just a cookie cutter part. Go and buy a cookbook and all of a sudden your child is eating vegetables and all the stuff you really want them to. But in this particular talk, I'm going to unpack a few things in that space. But yeah, so let's dive into my presentation and my seminar of fathers and children in the kitchen. And yes, especially you dads, it is time for us, our guys, to get involved in the kitchen and really get your hands dirty. And you will get to see how much fun it is to interact with your children in the comfort of your own home in your kitchen. So I've broken down today's conversation, children in the kitchen, in three basic little plans or parts. So part one, kitchen safety, then the involvement, and then fun activities. Now, let's dive into phase one there. Now, as a professional chef, I've seen this happening with young adults moving into the kitchen, how easily accidents can happen, misplacing equipment or floors being wet. I mean, the list can and it goes on about kitchen safety. One could never be too safe in the kitchen. Now, especially if you have a little one in the house, that just amplifies the danger by tenfold or even more probably. So the point is kitchen safety. You just could never be too safe. Last thing you want to do is either let your children or a guest or somebody in your family get hurt in the kitchen when it could have easily been avoided. So I've put together a little list, and you can move this. Just going to make my screen a little bit smaller. There we go. This you can either print out, and there is so many other of these exact the same little breakdowns. We're going to dive deeper into this particular breakdown with the various points on the next page. But this is something you can just put up on your fridge, blow it up and put it on the wall. Something that while you're in the kitchen, you can teach these basic steps to your children for them to understand that the kitchen can be such a fun place. But if we do not respect the space and the equipment and goods that you do often find in the kitchen, it can be very dangerous. And if we don't respect those things, accidents can happen so quickly. So I'm not going to read through these points, but this is something you can use for yourself. My focus will be more on the next slide there, but something handy. And I think there is really so many other different pages you can jump on board, print out for yourself, and work through there. So kitchen safety. I'm going to go through my top 10 points, and also you can add on to yours. But basically, I think this is a great overview of basic kitchen safety. No sharp knives for children, and keep the knives out of reach. And that also just means I've so often, as a private chef, also walked into clients' houses. Their kids might be of a different age, whatever, but you often find that people have got quite a big selection of knives, or large knife, or selection of knives, um, and that just often just goes into a drawer. Now, a drawer maybe second from the middle of the cabinet space. You find that there is so many sharp things just lying in there. Now, not only is that dangerous for a little one, but I promise you, for a grown up or somebody else, that can also just be dangerous. You think you're just grabbing something, and then boom, there is another sharp, large cooking fork or paring knife just lying there on an edge or angle, and just trying to grab something else. You find yourself in a compromised position, and boom, you actually get to cut yourself with a sharp object in a knife. So basically, my point is, and to add to that point, if you throw all your knives together in the kitchen, naturally those blades are also going to bash and move over each other, and so you actually blunting your knife. So one last thing you do not want to do is actually just go and damage a knife and at the same time hurt yourself. So look after your equipment, especially the sharp knives, because I do find that cooking with sharp knives is a lot better than working the blunt knife, because the knife is actually doing what it's supposed to do. So it's a handy tip, and it's a two-way street. You want to keep it sharp, but you want to keep the sharp stuff away from people that could hurt themselves, like little kids. Get yourself a nice butcher block where the knives can easily slide into, easy to grab from the drawer. So basically somewhere where it's on the counter, where a little person can't reach all the way over and grab something that they shouldn't be using at that particular point. Second point, teach your children that the stove is hot, even when it's turned off. And I think that second part of that sentence is so simple. Just get them to avoid it, because that might have been you who were cooking something. If you're using gas cooker, or I do know the induction technology has come such a long way, meaning that as soon as you move the pot or pan away, the unit actually goes cool quite rapidly compared to the other devices. But I mean, in your house, it might be 100% safe, but they could go to somebody else's house, or you're on holiday, or you find yourself in another space. Now your children think it is still fine to go and sit or play on that area, and all of a sudden they find themselves, or you find yourselves, in a compromised position where somebody gets hurt. So I think that is a pretty straightforward thing. Teach your children that the stove is hot. So that means on the top, and also the glass. Yes, the glass is tempered, meaning that it won't just crack or break, but the point is just teach kids not to just go and put their faces onto the oven glass or the cover of the oven, and also just trying to reach things at the top of the stove. Make sure all hands and pots and pans are turned inwards. Now, I've used this exact same point a few times during my cook-alongs. If you have time to go and check out our cook-along videos with me and my children. The most important part. So should this be my cooker in front of me? When you're using something with a pan or a handle, so pot with handles or pan with a handle, just turn that handle away from you. Further the better, meaning just get it away from you or move it to the back burner. And all that allows is that should you not be using that pan, or if there is hot oil or anything in that pan, hot pan juices from cooking something, the last thing you want to do where somebody small or little reaches for that handle, being quite curious to see what's inside the pot or the pan, and all of a sudden we have all that liquid or whatever's hot inside the pan falling onto them. So again, I think these are very basic, straightforward things, but you would be really surprised if you had to ever speak to somebody or a nurse that had to deal with children with burn wounds. Some of these accidents could have easily been avoided, but sometimes you are tired, you're just too busy, and all of a sudden you forget, something happens and the accident just happened, and all of a sudden you find yourself in this very, very, very tough position where you need to go and rush to the hospital. So accidents happen so quick, is that moment you turn around and one of the kids just do something out of pure excitement. So just move that pan handle away, make sure that your kitchen safety, and the hob itself is always safe. Moving on to our next point. It's actually, I just summed it up in the previous one. Uh, Cook slow cooking food on the back burners if possible. Meaning, again, that pot is going to be on your stove anything from 2 to 4 hours or longer. Um, the last thing we want to do is a heavy, big pot full of hot liquid, hot liquid and meat or vegetables in it. To be close to the side where a child can either put their hand on the side of the pot, because there's usually a larger vessel that you need for slow cooking. The side of the pot is going to be hot, the lid is going to be hot. So the best way to move that, the best thing would be is just to move that pot onto the back burner, out of sight for somebody small, and also, avoiding a very, very simple accident that could have been avoided. Always turn off the stove top and the oven when you are done. And I promise you, it is there for a very, very good reason. I've been cooking for an extremely long period of time, and it happens. Sometimes you just turn that burner down to the smallest or the lowest setting, and you finish the dish, you move on, and you realize an hour later, I still have left that top on. So again, the top 5 points is all about just routine, habit, things that you think you would never do, and then sometimes it just happens. So it's just a good habit. Even when you go and sit down at the table after you're cooking, just lean around the corner. Different stoves have got different uh, knobs or nozzles, so you should know more or less your house, that if how that device look, if there's got a marker on it or not, just to make sure your burners are off, or the electric hobs are turned off, just to make sure that we're avoiding any form of accident, meaning either burning something to a crisp, somebody putting something of a plastic nature, a container on top of the stove. I mean, these, you can naturally see where this is going if we forget something on. If you're cooking with gas, for example, last thing we want to do is a gas leak. Just avoid those basic issues or mistakes that we can all make so easily. Keep your appliances away from water. I'm not going to dive any deeper into that. That is straight up. Hopefully your kitchen is set up, and also when you're done with electric appliances, I'm a big fan of just get a damp cloth, give it a quick wipe down. When you finish, it goes back to where it belongs. You've got a clean device or clean machine or utensil that you've just finished with. It's back in its right place. And also, should anybody spill water or whatever the case might be, over that the appliance won't get damaged, and also nobody else will get damaged. Teach your children about proper sanitation of food and use clean hands. Now, again, during this COVID pandemic, I think every person has really upped their game in terms of cleaning hands. But it's good habit for also kids to learn when and how to wash hands. I've got a 6 and a 4-year-old, and I promise you, we try to instill that every single time, and they still forget it. So it takes a bit of time to sink in. So clean hands, especially when they have been playing outside, and also just moving back in the house. Sometimes they want to help, sometimes they don't. Excuse me. And the last thing we want is to have little dirty hands working with your dinner. And also hand sanitizers around in so many places in your house, hopefully. And also a handy tip is for them to sing the happy birthday song while washing their hands. That's about 20 or 25 seconds if you have to time it. But basically, it's a good way of teaching them how to work and get their hands properly washed. And just not just running under running water, actually get some soap in there and clean their hands. Don't put cooked food on a plate or a surface that where you've been working with raw protein, for example. The best and simplest way to say that is that in my house, I like to color code things, especially working with chicken. That my chicken generally gets operated on a yellow board, and sometimes if you want to save a little bit on just buying different colors, so red for red meat, chicken for white meat, or fish for blue, you can just mark the one side off the board. So basically say, okay, for my chicken, this is my chicken chopping board. Make a little X at the top corner of the board, and that is your chicken side, and the other side you can now work with your red meat, etc. But the point is just it's good to get in a habit and also instill that into your children, that raw meat can carry some various things that we do not want to eat with a salad. So we don't want raw chicken juice onto on the salad. And last thing we want to do is get anybody sick, or just not necessarily sick, but really upset stomach. So the last thing we want to do is cross-contaminate and work over a dirty kitchen space the whole time. So when you are also done with that, the same as your cooking machines or utensils, give it a quick wipe down. If you're working with raw chicken, focus purely on that task at hand. What I often like to do, especially when I'm cooking at home, is get all your fruit and vegetable prep done. So stuff that you can, for example, I can cut a piece of salad, or I can chop salad leaves on a particular chopping board. Then I can chop herbs. Then I can chop an onion, all on the same board. But as soon as you now start working with your protein first, now you need to go all the way back. Go and wash the thing before you bring it in. So my point is, plan and sequence your cooking experience so that things that can go on the same board go through the process. So you work with all your vegetables during that process. You just quickly dust the board off. And last but not least, you now use that same board for your protein, and then you take it to your dishwasher or your washing station, and then give it a good proper wash. So it also saves time during that cooking process. Give a kitchen tour of what is safe and what's not, and tell them what it is not to be, or what is not to be touched, and any other advice you can share with your children in the kitchen. So basically, a simple kitchen tour, and I think this ties in with that top 5 points I made earlier. Just teach your kids where and what not to do. Sometimes, from personal experience, my kids just want to know where and what they can and should not do, and after that, they will get to know a lot more what they can and should not do in the kitchen, and they do take a lot of pride in that particular process. To say, "Oh, Daddy, I should not be touching this. Oh, this is not safe." So again, the more you instill this with people, the less the more you instill this with your children, the more interactive they want to get with you in the kitchen. When your children is old enough to use the oven, make sure they know the importance of safety first. Again, it ties in with the other points we've just made. Just by teaching and installing these basic safety features in your kitchen, and clear communication with your children, they will naturally avoid that if and when possible. Get your children involved. Now, this is the whole most important part. If we have clear and safe planning around your house and in your kitchen, involvement is what really captivates them. Like I said earlier, I've got 2 different ages. I've got 2 kids of different ages. The one wants to do something in this way, the other one wants to do the other way. But all they really want to do is just be involved during the process. Whether it's breaking the egg, measuring the flour, that is really what they want to do. They just want to know that they have assisted with our cooking process. And on top of that, the best part for them is they get to play with the raw ingredients, see the cooking process, see the end product. And after that, they get to realize, oh, okay, this is the different flavors. And they get to get more involved with nutrition and planning without even knowing. So I've broken down this part of my presentation in 3 different steps and phases. So from quite little toddlers, how to get them involved, and then the middle section from 3 years till I think 4, and then the last bit up to 9 years and older. So I'm just going to scan through these points, and share with you what we've experienced so far during raising of my children and sharing the kitchen space with them. So up to 3 years old, and it's very simple points. I'm going to read through them, and there's various other things. You also know what your kids like to do or not to do. But the point is for them to just understand that there is different things for them to do, not necessarily the cooking part, but that entire preparation part they can get involved with and assist you with. Pour the dry and liquid ingredients into the bowl. Now that is from baking a cake to measuring all that liquid. Get yourself ready, maybe have a few towels ready, because yes, it can get quite messy during that process. But the point is, we can always clean up the mess, but you can never get these magic moments back once lost, if you want to look at it like that. So kind of do a positive spin on it. Yes, we're going to make a bit of mess, but that quality bonding time is just so important, especially in those early development stages. Rinse fruit and vegetables. Again, something so simple. What you think you just want to rush through, for them it means the world. They're busy helping you prepare this lovely meal. Scrub the potatoes, scrub the sweet potato, and it doesn't need to be with, it can be just a what do you call it, a little nail brush, something like that, or just a clean sponge, a normal washing up sponge. That is plenty, but I promise you, this really goes such a long way with the little ones, just to get involved. Pick the herbs off the stem. Now again, that's very fine motor skills, and it's not necessarily the finished product you had envisioned for your salad or your dish, but I promise you, it is something that they are busy working already with at school. These fine motor skills, picking, removing, focusing, pulling away, that is just you installing more of what they're already learning at school. Tear salad leaves in small pieces, again, something like a cos lettuce. Show them a size, let them learn, go back, go and see how well they've progressed with it. You'll probably find they've done 4 times the size that you want to. But again, that excitement around their face during that process is just absolutely priceless. Brush oil or butter with a pastry brush. Again, that could be on top of pastries that you do, or baking a large pie. During that process, just get them involved. If you're working with phyllo pastry, again, that's that skill they're learning at school during the day, learning how to paint, holding something, working, or trying to teach them to work clean as well. So just getting through that process just shows them that you are observing, you care, and you want to be there for them during this process. The number one messy maker: stir batter in a bowl. So again, mixing, well, measuring, then get the whisk, mix it. If you want to use a machine, my kids love turning the knob on the machine and just seeing that arm going. So no matter how that process needs to go, stirring, mixing, that whole process, they just absolutely love it. And then last on that point, sprinkle salt or herbs. Again, it's just that process of pitching. Again, we can go back to the point of sanitizing, making sure the hands are clean when we are putting our hand into a salt pot, or working with herbs, just making sure that the hands are clean, and then also working from one place to the other. So plenty of points to think about, but again, just try and redesign the approach you would like to take around this phase, especially for kids up to 3 years old. Any involvement is good involvement, especially in the kitchen. So between ages 4 and 5-year-old, now these little guys, little preschoolers, are hard at work. Again, I did mention that this is just another level. They are digging deeper into this fine motor skills. They start playing with balls. The teachers now have got so many great, what's the right word? They've got so many great systems that they are working with the kids that, excuse me, I'm busy. Apologies. So preschoolers are hard at work doing this process already as is, and yeah, it's just another way to install what is going on. So cut soft fruit and veg with a plastic knife. There's so many great little building blocks and tools that the kids get to play with and use. So again, from a safety point of view, use a plastic knife. Yes, the knife is still sharp enough to work through vegetables, but it is a ton easier to for them to work with a plastic knife to start with. Juicing of lemons and limes. Always love seeing their little faces when they work with something like a lemon, especially when they lick their fingers. That all the little funny sour faces. But again, it's using that juicer, using a bit of muscle for them to get involved. Also asking you to assist them during that process. I think it's just another step. So something a bit more evolved as we're going through learning how to cook with the various goods. Cracking eggs, that is often sometimes the bane of my existence to share with the kids, but again, it is so important for them, and they do get quite adamant on this process regarding breaking the eggs, even if you have to go and fish out all those eggshells inside your egg mix. So measuring the dry ingredients with the straight edge, so meaning now they start using the spoon, they're using the cup, they get to scrape it off, they understand that this is now a full cup, not anything over or anything less than that line. And also, when you're working with a scale, they get to start recognizing the numbers. So again, all the stuff they're learning from school are hard at work here, and I do find that my kids are so proud of what they've learned, and they really want to come and show and share that with us at home. So always keep that in mind. The point after that is set the timer. Again, I love taking the telephone, love putting the start timer if you've got a kitchen timer, whatever the case might be. But just that simple action of asking them, please come and get involved, come and help, push the button, get started, listen for the buzzer, all these fine skills. It is, again, that element or form of programming where they get to learn how to take instructions and share that. Whisking, again, we did point on that. Help set the table, even if the knife and fork is where the spoon is supposed to be. The point is just them helping get involved. The simple kind act of asking one of your children to go and pick a flower or a few flowers and make a little flower arrangement for the table. It really means so much to the little ones, to getting them involved in that process of laying the table. Spraying the countertop with all-purpose cleaner, preferably environmentally friendly products, but again, that is sometimes a bit budget restrained, a bit more expensive. But the point is just they love cleaning after that process, because they also know we've made a mess. This is also a skill that learning at school. Make a mess, clean up the process. After that process, we move on to the next part where we get to enjoy our meal. Fill the dishwasher soap compartment and push the start button. My kids just love pushing start and stop. This is their number one favorite thing in the kitchen. So again, whether it's on the timer, whether it's switching on the machine, whether it's starting the microwave, turning the knobs, whatever, it is that process of getting them involved, whether it is loading the dishwasher, as simple as loading the dishwasher as well. I promise you that will pay off hugely in due course. At some point, your children will be packing the dishwasher for you. So again, call it training, call it whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it's just great. Also, should they ever be lucky enough to go and sleep up at a friend's house, I promise you it goes such a long way when your kids do have great manners to assist and help with cleaning, help pack the dishwasher, and in some cases pack the dishwasher and start the machines for a friend's mum or dad when they do go over to there. So again, it's a two-way process there. 6 to 9 years old. This is now the part where your child, obviously not completely independent, but that picture of that kid here, as I picked it, really made me quite laugh. Still want to get involved, but the innovation to use swimming goggles while chopping onions is just absolutely genius. But again, it is them getting involved in that process. By now, they should be able to understand the fact that this knife is very sharp. And if I don't respect the knife, something could happen. I can hurt myself or hurt somebody else. So again, installing that process quite early, by the time it reaches those ages between 6 and 9, I know my oldest son definitely knows and understands how dangerous a knife could be. So never unsupervised, but he would like to show me the basic skills he's picked up over time when we are cooking together in the kitchen. Cook with you at the stove top, starting to use knives. So again, now it is that process. He understands, or the child understands, that the pan is hot or is going to get hot, understands the hob is hot, understand that all our prep is around here, understand that I need to keep my eyes open during this process because we are now working in a dangerous environment, and if we do not control the danger, an accident can happen. So again, my 6-year-old, very comfortable making scrambled eggs, very comfortable doing the omelette. I still stand around, I still stand behind him. He looks at me, he asks for approval during this process. I get to assist there and sometimes just push him a little bit in the right environment, making sure his fingers doesn't get too close to the rim of the pan. So all these things, he is already involved. He is very excited about the process, but again, small, simple accidents can still happen, hence the reason still stick around. The same part when they are starting to use small paring knives. The knife might be small, but it does not mean that it is not sharp. Start using a can opener or garlic press. I don't too worry about the garlic press, but again, a can opener does have the sharp edge, or the blade part that do aid with opening the can, and unfortunately that can turn into a small accident. But not just that, the opening part of the can, the lid part, you get to understand that the can, that lid can be quite sharp, just as sharp as the knife. So again, just kitchen safety during that process to understand that this can happen. Then moving over to vegetable peelers and graters. Again, box grater. I did speak about this in our last cooking episode, how the grater is still very sharp. It's just a whole bunch of blades, so it won't create a deep or big cut, but it can take the top of the finger off, the fingertip off. Not the whole fingertip, but I mean, it can cause quite a bit of bleeding on the fingertips should a child drag all their fingers down the grater. And that's just a painful situation. So teaching safety, hold the cheese far back or hold the vegetable quite far back, allow to push it forward during this grating process. And when we get closer to the blades, be careful, either get another vegetable, another block of cheese, or ask an adult to help finish that last bit. Same with the vegetable peeler, that is still a sharp blade pulling towards you in some cases, but I prefer to show or teach kids to pull away from them. So again, we are moving the danger away from us. So a handy tip to know and share. Forming things like patties with raw meat. I mean, there's various other things you can do, fish cakes, whatever, and it doesn't just have to be a patty, but starting to handle raw protein and understand, feel the texture, adding flavor. Again, salt, pepper, herbs, spices to a particular finished product. And I promise you, if you had to put that on a barbecue, the kids would just absolutely love the idea of telling their friends, I make my burgers from scratch all the way to the finished part of the process. Greasing baking pan, scooping out batter into muffin tins. Simple process, again, ice cream scoop going in, sharing with them the information, equal portions, equal sizes, going into different things. Again, this is part of things that they are learning at school, separating ingredients, and if we are using the same ingredient, to how to use the right and same quantities during the process, because that will also teach them that the finished product will all rise or finish at the same quantity. Threading food on a skewer. Again, a skewer can be sharp, but at the end of the day, I think by between ages 6 and 9, they do understand it is dangerous, but again, a fun process for you to pre-cube everything, and then from then on move on forward and skewering everything together. Help pack the groceries away. Again, a nice way of getting interaction going with your family to show them that where things are going. Certain things need to go in the freezers, certain things need to go in the fridge, and other things probably need to go in the pantry. So again, understanding and showing your kids the importance of where things needs to go inside the house. Load and unload, or load and unpack the dishwasher. By this time, hopefully your child know, and again, this could form part of a child's chores for the day or the week. And again, depending on how you set up your house, that can equate to allowance or anything else. So again, another great way of just sharing this information. Fun activities. And again, this is the last point of my presentation, but the most important part are these fun activities. Now it's the part where the rubber meets the road. We have covered the safety. Your child is engaged. They are excited to be with you in the kitchen. Now it's the part to say, okay, cool, let's use this now. We know what to expect. We know how to be safe. And now we can come up with these experiments, because yes, cooking is actually, there's a lot of science in it, especially with baking. Even if we're cooking a piece of protein, there is still great science in there, because it is taking something raw, using a hot environment, various hot environments, and then finishing up the product as we go along during the process. I've broken these down into 6 little points, but I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of different ways to have fun experiments in the kitchen. We did one of our early experiments or cook-along experiences, we did ice lollies, and it was so simple because we made smoothies on the particular day, and it's such a nice thing to get involved with your kids. Now again, we're going back to step 1, the kitchen safety. We're using a kitchen appliance. Again, a spinning blade, they need to understand we can't throw anything into that. So again, safety going through that process. And then we add a bunch of fruit in there with a bit of yogurt or whatever, nut, milk. And then from then on, we run the machine. They love pushing the buttons. So again, getting them involved in that process. But then we've got this smoothie on a nice hot afternoon. They enjoy the smoothie so much. We didn't finish all the smoothies. We might have made 2 different smoothies because we've got 2 different kids. And now we have our popsicle containers, and we get to do different layers inside this popsicle container. So now we've got popsicles for the next day. Now again, they still get the same nutrients from the smoothie, now just in the frozen form, and they still love it. And sometimes it breaks my head wide open to think my kids would like to have an ice lolly in the middle of winter when I'm freezing, and they still enjoy it. So again, whatever you think as a parent or reminder that your child, for some other reason, don't really mind the cold, especially if they do ask for one. And again, it is something that you've made, so you know exactly what's inside that ice lolly. So it should not be a problem. 1 ingredient banana ice cream, and I promise you, this is such a fun experiment. If you do have a food processor, I'm not sure about a blender. I've only done it in a food processor. The reason why it works is that the banana has got that high level of fructose inside, and also the texture, that squishy texture of the banana. When you freeze it, you throw it in the food processor, it will go quite lumpy because it is still frozen. Then it goes into almost like a rough crumb. Then it goes into that, when the fructose gets broken down with that texture of the banana, that turns, I kid you not, into ice cream. And it's such a fun way to teach your child how we are going from a raw ingredient as a banana. You can just open, peel, and eat it. If we freeze it, how that changes the structure of the banana. And then the last part of the process is then to have our banana, turn it into ice cream. And on top of that, if you wanted to add something like cacao powder, that would turn into a chocolate banana ice cream, or some peanut butter, or some fresh berries, whatever the case might be. But the point is that you've got still the banana without adding anything other than just the banana in a food processor. It will turn into ice cream consistency. Yes, you need quite a few bananas to get that in. Finished product, probably something like four bananas. But the point is, get them involved, use the equipment. They get to understand this little science project where we are turning something and it turns into something else at the end there. Coconut oil bath bombs. We've done this a few times at home. There is great recipes or methods and recipes out there. The only thing you need is citric acid, and then the list of ingredients. Mix those together, wrap it up in plastic wrap, and the stuff that you tend to go and buy, or if that is what your kids like to do, or buy when we go to the shop. The bath bombs, it changes the bath color. Please do not use any colorant. Naturally, the last thing we want to do is your child get out the bath a different color, and then on top of that your bath being stained. The point is just there's great natural fructose, or call it fruit what's the right word, fruit what do you call it, fruit colorants, sorry, fruit colorants that does not permanently stain your skin or your child or the bath or the environment. A lava lamp, this is such a great little experiment. My little one did it at school a couple of weeks back, and the nicest part is just for them to understand the density of different liquids. So we are adding liquids together into the one space, but the one is denser, meaning that the oil will stay to the top, then the heavier liquid go to the bottom. Now, if you add some food colorant to that, it will change that dynamic. And then if you add an effervescent, it can be anything like a multivitamin or whatever the case might be. The point is, now you're adding that bubbles, and all of a sudden that will sink to the bottom, and it will start pushing up this lava-like finish. So again, it's not something they're going to eat, but the point is we are still using very basic kitchen goods that you find in your pantry without especially going to the shop, that you can teach kids all these interesting things that you can find at home to turn into something different. The grape toothpick design. So basically a bunch of toothpicks. Again, sit around with your kids. The toothpick can be sharp, or if you really want to go as far as cutting off the sharp points on the toothpick. But pretty much it's almost like a Technic Lego idea. I wouldn't go as far as Technic Lego, but the point is, if you had to stick, if this is the grape and this is the toothpick, you get to stick it in. And now if you put another grape on the other side and you put another stick here and another stick here, you can start building a form of structure during this process and actually end up with a finished product. Finished product, I like a cool little design. And again, this is while you're busy cooking dinner that might not want to join you, or you just feel like you want to finish off this project quite quickly, your cooking experience quite quickly at home, and then you have to use the toothpicks as a supporting little structure part. Then we all have hopefully tried baking cupcakes with our kids. Again, that is the epitome for them. It is the naughty sugar. It is licking up the pot of batter. It is the mixing part. It's messing up the kitchen. It is scooping, portioning, putting into cupcake container, and then from then on moving on and finishing up that last bit for them to, again, preheat the oven. Again, we're bringing in elements of safety. Maybe they are old enough to start turning the dial. They can read the number. We say 180 for 180 degrees Celsius. So the point is, they get involved. They switched on the oven. They help mix this process. They help portion the different scoops. They help with this process. And at the end of the day, they get this sweet explosion that they help create. And again, those are the things that really stick with them for many moons to come. And again, just getting an understanding that the kitchen can be safe if we as parents help instill some great values in and around the kitchen about safety. This is the end of those. You can see the top left, that is how a lava lamp can look. You can see that is such a simple, that is oil, colorant, and the effervescent that actually creates that little process. The next picture there is your little structure, the banana ice cream, a cupcake. Play-Doh is another thing, making granola bars, ice lollies. In the bottom left, it looks like a fluffy cookie. Is actually not a cookie, it is your bath bombs. But team, thank you so much again for having me on board for this another great seminar. Thanks so much for listening. Again, please make time, go and check out the Taqueen website, go and see all the great initiatives they are doing there, with great cook-along episodes of me and my boys in the kitchen, and a ton of other nutritional information. But until next time, thank you so much for your time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.